Okay, so I know this is not like normally what I do. I don't normally make videos, not usually make videos in my chair like this, but there's just a poem that I want to read for you, if I could. Um, Lawrence Ferlinghetti is one of my favorite poets, like ever. Um, Lawrence Ferlinghetti and John Ashbery um, are two of my favorite poets, like ever. So there's one poet in here. There's one poem in this book. This is a book called "These Are My Rivers." Has some of his has some poems from a lot of different works of his, a lot of different poem collections of his. So I just want to read one poem and then talk a little bit about the way that I write poems. I haven't really written poems since last year. I mean, poems has been really something that I wanted to write or read since last year. So I do that now, but I never ever used to before last year. So this is a poem called "Deflowering," and I really like this poem because when I like to write it when I write a poem, this is normally how I like it to go. I mean, I like it to be something that pertains to life in some way or another, as pertains to life itself in some way or another. I like it to be about human life. I like it to be about human existence, and I just like it to be, something. I mean, I like to sort of when I write a poem, I like to make it something about like pertain in some way to existence and life, whether it be human or animal life. And I've been thinking a lot about like whales and conservation and stuff like that. So that's I think where I've been writing poems about that today. So we're gonna read this poem. It's called Deflowering. Life deflowers itself, petal by petal. One by one, the leaves fall away, like lovers from each other. Pistils and stamens reveal themselves to each other, and the seeds fall too, and all begins again. Ah, what's to be done with these leaves, these seeds still falling and falling? What to be done with these fronds still falling into the dark night, dying, where still stir the still dumb birds of our desiring, even as now, under the dark trees where the crickets are. Suddenly she stops laughing, puts his hands upon her breast. So I like the idea of life deflowering itself. I think that's a interesting thing, and I also like that the ending to that poem. I think is um, funny. I think it's funny. It's like I think it's funny, like a laughing sort of way. Because like when I first read that, like I did laugh, but the poem has a lot of meaning to me. Like meaning to me, like that's when I read a poem. Sometimes I like to either hint at um, how much wonder and amazement that there is in life, and how much there is in this life to be amazed at. And yet on the same token, when I write poems, I like to write about how life is conflicting and contradictory and strife ridden and terrible. So I like to do that. I think that that is really interesting in that way. I'm not entirely sure what he was going for, because poetry to me is about crafting words, to mean a lot of different things than that it might not that it might not otherwise. So I think I guess that's not really the way I've been writing poems lately. Like when I first started writing poems, I would try to write in the way that T.S. Eliot wrote. I mean, not in taking Eliot's ideas, but as to how he was very random about a lot of things, and took a lot of different things and put it all into one thing, and made that poem or that writing a unique creation among all the things he took to make it. Um, and I think T.S. Eliot was truly a word craftsman, if you will. So I don't know. I guess I'm not very. I don't think I'm very good at writing poetry. but I still like to. I have this, which is my like journal, which I write poems in. I just started this one. Like I just started, doing this one. I have one full notebook full of stuff in the other room that I finished. So I got an actual journal that actually writes stuff in, which I started recently. I'm only this far in, so I don't have all this to write yet. So I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts are on Ferlinghetti's poem, and if you write poetry. Tell me what you write. Tell me what you do, and just about yourself in general, and about poetry for you if you are into that. So, and not too many are these days, but anyway,